Welcome, everyone, to the very first podcast. It is West Texas Law, Money, and Sports inside the headquarters here at Mathis Law Firm in San Angelo, Texas, right in the smack dab of West Texas. Here with Austin Mathis, and something, Austin, you've been talking about for a long time, a podcast that, man, this thing's going to go a lot of ways. Yes, it's going to be law, money, sports. We're going to go over a lot of different things, and no matter where you are in life, get some out of this podcast.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time. The emphasis has to be on current and local events in each of those topics: money, law, and sports. And Jeremy, I know, man, you're the authority on these local sports in this area, and we just want to be able to provide information to our local viewers. West Texas, we handle all types of cases, injury cases all over West Texas. Today, here in the studios, Mathis Law Firm here in San Angelo, Texas, we've got Greg Conner. Greg has lived all over, been a police officer. Greg, introduce yourself.
Hi, Greg Conner. I'm right here at the Mathis Law Firm. Excited about getting this started.
And Greg, you were a police officer here in San Angelo for how many years?
20 years and a month.
And Jeremy, how long have you been in San Angelo?
Over 22 years now at Foster Communications Radio. And
so everyone driving around has probably heard your voice at one time or another. And the Mathis Law Firm, we've been together for 7 years, since 2016, October of 2016, I started the firm, and the emphasis of my firm has always been on representing individuals hurt in any capacity by the negligence of others, oil field injuries, car wrecks. Man, we have a lot of car wrecks in this area, and we just want to inform and entertain and talk about current and local issues.
Your background, a little bit about you.
18 years old, I come to ASU, and I try to get onto the basketball team here unsuccessfully. Then I got a call from a Coach Davalos to go play in Sul Ross State University at Alpine, Texas. I enjoyed that tremendously. Was a professor in Alpine and interned at the Federal Defender's Office in Alpine, Texas. Was an athletic director and coach in Marathon, Texas. Went to law school later in life. Went up to Michigan, Lansing, Michigan Law School, and went back. Thought I was going to practice in Austin, Texas. Hated that idea. Didn't get a job, and my grandfather had a stroke. Had to go help him back in Odessa. I applied as a DA, assistant district attorney in Odessa, Texas, my hometown where I grew up. And when I got the job, oddly enough, Greg, sitting across the table from me right here, we met for the first time on the same day, first day of employment, Ector County DA's office. Only two people in suits at the courthouse, and was a prosecutor there for 2.5 years. And then I went to work for a civil firm doing insurance defense work for 2.5 years. Then that law brought me into San Angelo, worked for a firm locally for 2.5 years, and then now I have my own law firm, and Greg Conner works for me. He's a lawyer here, and then Jacob Fisher is a lawyer that we have working right now. We have a staff, and here we are. Yeah,
Austin's right. We met April 11th of 2011.
That's a better memory than I have.
Started at the DA's office, and I recognized Austin was going to be my co-worker when he showed up in a suit because it was probation reporting day and everybody else was wearing jail suits. And so it was pretty clear that Austin and I were two attorneys starting that day. I grew up in Lubbock, Texas. Grew up playing sports kind of like Austin and doing things. My dad was a police officer, and all I ever wanted to do was to be a police officer. Had an opportunity when I was 19 years old to come to San Angelo and be a police officer. Did a little over 20 years. Worked in patrol, narcotics. I was the Crime Stopper coordinator, I think probably when Jeremy and I met back in the day. Made rank, did criminal investigations. I finished the end of my career in patrol. But throughout the 20 years, 1 month, made lots and lots of relationships, and San Angelo became my hometown. When I left Lubbock as a 19-year-old, I was ready to get out of Lubbock. There weren't any trees, there weren't any lakes, and so to come to San Angelo in 1985, that was wonderful to have trees and lakes. now I love Lubbock too, but San Angelo is my chosen hometown, and it has been wonderful. Similar to Austin, my parents followed me here, and they're at an age now that it's good to be around them, be with them, and be able to spend time with them, and that's been a blessing. Been very involved in the sports world. Played as a youngster. During my police days, we were always playing against basketball against the Dallas Cowboy Legends, or playing benefit games and being out there. We were always actively involved. Just kind of love the sports world. I think it kind of builds and makes kind of who you are and discipline and how you look at things. I did criminal prosecution for a period of time, and then I was a municipal lawyer. But fate brought me back here to do personal injury law, and I jokingly tell people that I spent 37 years of my life chasing bad guys and put them in jail, and now I spend my time chasing insurance companies and doing that. But that's why we're here, and it's chasing the same people. It's just doing a different thing. And I think Austin and I share a servant's heart, and that's kind of why we're here doing what we do.
And we have also another guest with us, one of your attorneys here that's via phone.
I want to introduce Jacob Fisher. He's actually practicing in Abilene for us remotely. But Jacob, tell everyone about yourself a little bit.
Thanks, Austin. So I'm from all over the U.S., born in Missouri, lived in Indiana, Michigan, Oklahoma, and finally made it to Texas for law school, where I went to Baylor. I met my wife there. We got married in 2019, moved out to San Angelo for my job with the Mathis Law Firm. I've been practicing with Austin ever since. One thing I'll say about practicing in West Texas is it's much more congenial than other areas of definitely of the country, but of Texas as well. Everybody gets along, and we follow the rules, but we definitely don't try to out technical other people, and that's one thing I really appreciate about practicing in West Texas.
Jacob, you mind tell everyone what your wife does for a living?
She's a lawyer as well. She's a JAG with the Air Force. She's an area defense counsel, so she looks out for airmen who are maybe in trouble with their command or accused of a crime. She defends them and makes sure that the government is put to its level of proof before they fire them or put them in jail.
A household full of lawyers. That's a recipe sometimes for disaster, huh?
I wouldn't say that. I think it makes for definitely fun and exciting conversations at dinner, and we both kind of understand each other's line of work to a certain extent, so it makes explaining things a lot more interesting and go more smoothly.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Jacob.
First ever West Texas Law, Money, and Sports podcast. And I want to kind of just real quick, Austin, because we're going to have a lot of great guests coming up in the future, from sports figures to, maybe future chief of police candidates to different attorneys that specialize in different types of law. But at the Mathis Law Firm, you talk about this all the time. You're trying to get people what they deserve. And a lot of times people don't know what they deserve. You have to help them along.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. When we take on a personal injury case, a lot of times in West Texas, hardworking individuals out here, we're trying to get back what they lost in income. Lost income and future lost earnings potential is a major source of our damages. And you're out there in the whole field, you're relying on your back, and all of a sudden someone, hits you in a car wreck, or you get hurt on your job. You can't support yourself. You can't support your family. Those are substantial damages that we have to look out for. So we hire economists, we hire structure annuity type of individuals, experts to come up with that. And, with the current environment, with inflation, right now, for example, the interest rates are larger than we've ever seen them. It's a complicated element of damages because a lot of people work for themselves even. And when I represent someone who, like myself, is a small business owner, calculating what they're out, it requires experts. And a lot of people don't think about if they can't rely on their back, what are they going to do? No one pays the bill for them. Life keeps going. Life doesn't stop just because someone's injured you. And that's when we step in.
So a lot of this podcast is going to be informative, and you teach folks whether or not they're in that kind of situation, but there might be somebody that's out there that has no clue that something they've gone through in their past could qualify. If not, it helps inform people.
Yeah, no, we just want to educate, inform, and entertain a little bit. Invite people to come and listen. Current events, things that focus and affect us locally. And I jokingly say West Texas is a small town because we're all connected in some way. If you know someone who lives in West Texas, is from here, the likelihood of you running into that same person is pretty high. And that's what keeps in a nice environment. And ultimately, like I was just in a mediation with some out-of-town Houston lawyers, and they've never driven in Odessa before. First time driving in Odessa, and they're talking about how horrible the traffic is in Odessa, and they're from Houston. I mean, they're not used to dealing with 18-wheelers cutting you off and sand trucks and the oil field traffic and the bad driving from all over the area. There's just too many deaths, too many injuries on our roadways. And at one point, 258 became Highway 258 was the most deadliest road in America. And a lot of people don't even know where that's at. So we just want to inform, entertain, and again, educate. Well, I guess the idea of the podcast really is to do those three things. And in addition, hopefully raise awareness on just being safe and, respectful to others. We're all here. We all live together. These are our roads, and we drive on them every day.
We have all that, but sports, of course, football season's wrapped up, at least locally here in West Texas, both high school pretty much, and Angelo State just missed out making the playoffs. But Greg here went to his first Angelo State football game on campus, which is now they're about to reach their 10th anniversary on campus. But what's big about that is Ram Jams. It's a tailgate that a lot of people are surprised that at Division II how great those tailgates are.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And, if you hadn't been out and you hadn't tried it, I encourage you to do it. It's something like you wouldn't think that would be here. And Jeremy and I were talking, being the last game of the season, it was absolutely quality. It was actually good. Jeremy was telling me that the homecoming event drew like 4,000 people, and I can fully see it. So, next year, get ready. Let's support the Rams. Let's see them do well. But get out there and have some fun here in San Angelo.
I'm listening to this podcast because it said something about law, money, and sports, and the money part caught my attention. Anywhere you listen or watch the news or look online, you hear about inflation, and of course, which is tough when you're trying to buy a bunch of gifts this time of year.
When I take on a client and they're injured, we understand they can't pay for lawyers. They can't pay for representation up front. So when you hire an injury lawyer, it's always contingent on a recovery. It's always a team effort. And it's if you don't recover something for you, for your family, your loved ones, there's no fee. There's no harm in seeking out the advice of a local injury lawyer. Never upfront pay for a lawyer to represent you in an injury case. It has got to be a team effort. You've got to trust that the lawyer who's going to be looking out for you is doing the right thing, building the right case for you, using those experts like I talked about earlier. The economists are, sometimes integral to make sure we have the right damage model for your case built. And now money, you throw around numbers, 100,000, million, billion, $1 trillion is in the news every day. We talk about how much money is spent on Donald Trump's legal team. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. And, that trickles down to everybody.
Yeah, you don't even have to think about Donald Trump or holidays or anything else. Go to the grocery store and look at a loaf of bread or cream cheese. I mean, I think it affects everybody, and we're here. And, that's a big part of this educating and informing. And I think even us, I think we're going to learn a lot from this, bringing in quality people, talk about it, make it entertaining, enjoy it, and start learning some things.
Exactly. How many times has an insurance adjuster or defense attorney told you, Greg, well, I'm not paying that much for that MRI. That's too much in San Angelo or Odessa or Midland. Yeah,
as he's sitting in a Dallas office and has no idea what we have out here or how it is. That's a perfect point, Austin. All of you guys. Things in San Angelo aren't as cheap. There aren't as many of those things. There's, that's the big thing, like Austin says, when we're talking to our clients, we're working with our clients. My deal before anybody makes any money, and I think Austin would share this, is I want you to be well. I can give you an example. I had a 19-year-old a rear-end collision the other day. Tough kid. He says he's not hurt. I'm glad he's not hurt, but here's his one shot. When you have a collision, you have a wreck, adrenaline's gonna kick in. You may not know for 3 or 4 days. what would be the worst thing that can happen? What if you wait to find out until 6-7 months down the road that you have 3 herniated discs and you're going to be disabled the rest of your life, but you've already signed that agreement with the insurance company for $1,500 and you're down the road and you released all your claims. So that's kind of my angle of it, is I want to make sure you walk out of here, number one, healthy, and number two, that there's not bill collectors chasing you and trying to find out where you're at.
Well, you talk about medical inflation. Inflation happens across all spectrums of our life, and medical costs is one of those. We don't have access to care like Houston and Dallas and San Antonio. There's great care here. There's great care in Odessa, Midland, Pecos, all over. We see these cases all the way to Lubbock, and we handle cases from San Antonio to El Paso and up to the Panhandle and down in the Valley. But if you don't know and don't drive on our roads and talk to our doctors, the insurance lawyer from Chicago or New York doesn't understand what the day in the life of our clients are.
Well, one thing all three of us can do really well is eat. We also want to talk about some of our favorite restaurants in West Texas. We're over at Henry's Diner, one of the best restaurants in San Angelo. It's like a landmark, really.
There's a reason that there's not a lot of franchises in San Angelo for steakhouses or Mexican food restaurants, because we are blessed with some of the best. And Henry's is great. I mean, you'd be remiss not to mention Gil's, Fernandez. There's tons of them out there. It's
talking about Henry's, I gotta give them a shout out. Best sopapilla in town.
You were telling me, I got to tell this stat here. Celebrities that need to smile more because their likability will go up substantially.
Well, in trial law, we have to study a lot of areas of psychology, and you got to understand, we are presenting a stranger to 12 other strangers and trying to truncate their story into 3 or 4 days of trial. And we try a lot of cases. So in doing that, we're always trying to read and get an advantage and an edge. And the statistic was that the natural smile involves 80% of your upper facial muscles. Now, I don't know if mine does or not, but ultimately the natural smile lends itself to being trustworthy and accountable and someone people can relate to. That's the people we want to represent, and that's our West Texas clients. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we go into court and we understand that 12 strangers are going to be judging us, judging our clients, and judging the story we tell. And we have to tell that story in the most truthful way possible. If we do that, we're doing the best thing for our clients.
Even though we're audio here and you can't see us, if I'm smiling, you can hear it. But if I'm got a sourpuss face on me and I'm trying to talk, you can tell that it sounds monotone. Right, Greg?
Well, Jeremy's smiling 95% of the time anyways. He's just that kind of guy. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, West Texas people judge people in West Texas better than anywhere. And they know you for a fake and they know you for real. They know, you come in wearing the wrong kind of cowboy boots and the wrong kind of suit and start trying to talk some.
Why are you looking at Austin when you say that?
Well, you start talking the wrong stuff and they're going to call you out on it. Whenever I was in law school at Texas Tech, they would bring in the Third Court of Appeals from time to time to hear cases at Texas Tech University. And one of the very first times I went and watched, a Houston lawyer comes in with $7,000 boots and a $10,000 suit and stands up, and the justices from Amarillo really tore him up before he ever got to speak. It's a lot of times it's knowing your forum. That comes a lot going back to Austin and I being prosecutors. It's the home field advantage. Almost every court that we try cases in now were cases that we've tried cases in when we were prosecutors. We know which table to sit at. We want to be closest to the jury. We want to be your friend. Because at the end of the day, we want you to trust us because we're the good guys. So, that's kind of the West Texas thing.
There's a lot of out-of-town lawyers coming in to West Texas. Why do they come in and try to get cases, but they don't live here? Well, the idea is, and the reality is, that this is where the collisions are happening.
All right, I guess we need to put a bow on this and wrap this one up. West Texas Law, Money, and Sports. And so we were going to have a lot of special guests, and we're going to do this once a month. And of course, love for you to come back and listen to us. It's Law, Money, and Sports. For example, the sports side, I got a coach who's won a national championship, a big-time national championship, and this guy has no filter. He's one of the most entertaining people you ever will hear.
Oh, yeah, and one of the things I want to highlight is some of the local elder statesmen in the law community in West Texas. We've got so many amazing trial lawyers, older lawyers, way more experienced than any of us. They have amazing stories in the courtroom with clients, real cases. I'd love to bring on some of these older lawyers to tell us their stories.
Yeah, and I don't want to tip my hand too much, but, big thing going on in San Angelo for the next 7 months is going to be a police chief election, and we might be able to talk to some people that know a little bit about being a police chief and writing books and maybe people that are involved in elections, so stay tuned.
Appreciate it, Greg, Austin. This is Jeremy Bryant, and we will see you soon. Make sure you subscribe to the West Texas Law, Money, and Sports podcast.